Hey guys, my name is Miranda and today I'm here to discuss episode 3 of Burrow's End from Dimension 20. Obviously episode 2 was a lot, a nightmare, truly. But episode 3 was definitely a bit more calm, you could say, a bit more of like a breather after everything that we had experienced with the bear episode, as we will forever be calling it. So this episode kind of started out basically right after they had defeated the bear and kind of thinking about what comes next. Because it's like, obviously they had defeated the bear and the chipmunks that were inside the bear, and that's great. They took down this huge threat that literally tried to eat them, but that doesn't mean they're safe. They still have no home to go to. They don't really know what direction they're going in next or even what is the next goal. So it's literally kind of the epitome of like just one day at a time, one step at a time. Literally, they're just trying to figure out like what to do next, and in that we're already starting to see the dynamics shift a little bit, which I think is very interesting, because I do think it's kind of one of those things of you wonder like how different people react to different situations, but also how like putting someone in a situation changes how they would be in a different situation, if that makes sense. So mainly the biggest thing I've been noticing with that is Tula and her children. I think more with Lila specifically, who has always wanted to know more about the blue, now that she's getting to actually experience it and see that and learn that, again, as Tula told her, the kind of big secret is that the adults don't actually know what the blue is. Like, they don't really know what's going on any more than Lila does. I feel like there is a lot more curiosity on Lila's part and a lot more emphasis on her trying to figure this out and solve it, because as we saw, she kind of has, I think, a very noble but a very kid-minded kind of thinking of like, this thing is bad, or like no one wants to talk about it, so I'm gonna fix it and then all the bad stuff will go away. Like, I think we saw it specifically with her argument, I guess you could say, with her mom, how she was saying like she kind of blames her dad for her dad dying, and Tula was like, no, don't say that, like got angry with Lila, which is something like you never see, right? Like, that's like so taboo. You're not supposed to like yell or get angry at your children. And I feel like Tula so far has been such a tired, I was gonna say like calm, but I feel like the voice that Brennan does is definitely like, I'm not yelling or talking loud because I'm tired, not because like I don't want to, but I feel like has been very mellow and just rational so far and trying to like talk everything through. So to see her get upset about that, I think shows you how rough this is and how hurtful this is. The way Izzy plays Lila, honestly, is so funny to me, because I don't know what exactly she's thinking, but I feel like that's how Lila herself is, so I feel like it makes perfect sense, honestly, like how she flip-flops from like being like, oh yeah, I'm talking to Uncle Thorne and this is so cool, like he trusts me, he thinks I'm so smart, and then immediately running to mom and being like, I think Uncle Thorne is a bad guy, but then like when there's any pushback or follow-up to that, just being like, well, actually no. Like, it's just, she's got so many thoughts and is so like overstimulated in a way, because she's obviously a very curious person and there's so much going on right now to make her more curious, and there's not direct answers for a lot of it. And not only are there not direct answers, but there's not a conclusive answer of like everyone is on this side. Like, there's very clearly a divide that's growing between like the family members who think they should continue to search for these lights, search for the blue, and then I would say Tula really is the only one on the opposite side of that biggest, I would say, in wanting to just, you know, get safe, forget about that, like not follow this, which would make sense considering like she lost her husband too. It seems like he was maybe investigating the blue or doing something with that. But again, we don't know necessarily like, is the blue bad? Is someone just harnessing the blue to be bad? They did find this big structure at the end that they're now heading towards, and like the way it was originally described, I thought it was gonna be like an animal testing site or like something that humans lived in, because the way they've been describing the monsters, 95% of the description lines up with humans, and then the other 5% I feel like might just be an intentional weird description, but like would be what an animal describes a human as, because like you have no context for like what you're seeing, you know what I mean? Like, they called them hairless, they said they walked on 2 feet, they're way bigger than the stoats, like that all fits. And then there was some other stuff that I was like, meh. But again, if you have no like context of what you're seeing and you're kind of trying to relate everything human to an animal, you would say like they're hairless and stuff like that. So I feel like it could definitely be that. And again, that would be like the 1-2 sucker punch of like, if anyone does die, being like, haha, it was the humans that caused it. Being like, what? I didn't want this. So there's that divide. And like I said, I thought the concrete thing they were going toward was going to be like a human structure. And it might be a human structure, honestly. But from the preview for next episode, it looks like there are a faction of stoats that have taken that over. So whether they just found this abandoned or whether they somehow drove out the people or things that live there is yet to be seen, but there does seem to be this big theme overall so far, at least, of things driving out other things that are living there, right? Like we got the gas that drove out to the original stoats, and the stoats originally had driven out the rabbits from the Red Warren, so that's that. And then we had the chipmunks that had taken over the bear and driven out like any sense of kind of control the bear had. And now they drove out the chipmunks and killed the chipmunks and the bear. So I feel like there's an overarching theme, but it also just makes sense for like animals in a way of like, especially stoats who are like aggressive predators and will like attack and win fights against things bigger than them, to kind of always be taking over things. Like they even said in one of the episodes, like they don't make burrows, they don't make like their homes, they just find something that they like and kick out the, well, I mean, kick out is a polite way to say it, but take it over from whoever was there before. So it will be interesting to see this new group of stoats, especially because like aside from Oliver and Tito's, like any kind of well-known or well-established stoats that like they had grown up with, especially like Jason and Lila their whole life, are now gone. I think everyone in the Warren died because they kind of locked themselves in, which not a great idea when there's gas coming. But I feel like some people from the Lucor just ran, so we could see them again, and it'll be interesting to see if maybe any of them headed towards this concrete structure or anything like that. I don't know particularly how I feel about the sign that they found that was written by a stoat that said like, follow your instincts, go to the light. Like halfway towards the end of the episode, I just started feeling like maybe because Izzy didn't roll like she rolled high, but not like amazingly high, like not past a 20, and because this is their first time like reading, I did start to get a little worried that like Abria intentionally gave her like a misrepresentation, and it's actually going to be trust your instincts, don't go toward the light, because a couple of them, I know it was Tula definitely, but maybe someone else mentioned that like your instincts are kind of go away from the light, you would think. So I don't know if that's just like Tula being overly cautious since everyone else kind of wants to go toward this light, or if that is going to be like an intentional mistranslation since Lila's still like new at this whole reading thing. Seeing Lila try to describe like how she was reading that to Tula was quite funny, and I do feel like they do a really good job of like explaining things that like stoats wouldn't do, because it's to us it's like when you like are like, oh, tell a robot how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and to us it's so easy, but then like when you really start to write it down, you've got to realize every single step that you have to write down that's like just intrinsic to us, but is like not like just what you would do, you know. And I feel like that was them with reading, where she's like, I can see it, and he's like, oh, like a projection, and she's like, no. And I think the way that I get to give props to Izzy, the way she described it, of like saying to Jason, hey, you know, like when we make shadow puppets of like our babysitter, and it's not really our babysitter, it's just a picture of our babysitter, but like it represents that, like that's what I'm seeing. I was very impressed with that. I was like, that's a very good metaphor and like way to compare that. But yeah, I'm definitely seeing this divide that's forming, and I know people have been worried about Tula since like her magic, her like blue was kind of like looking different, or was described as looking different, and then she also had the line to her mom this episode basically being like, can you like watch out for the kids? And it would be like, aren't you gonna watch out for your kids? And then I feel like Brendan was quick to be like, oh, you know, I'm gonna watch out for them too, but like, can you just also watch out for them? And it felt like a weird, I don't know, just intentional thing to just be like, hey, can you watch out for my kids? Like, I feel like you would be like, can you help me keep an eye on the kids, right? You wouldn't be like, can you watch out for my kids? So I am worried about Tula very much, because I feel like it would break everyone. But I feel like there is this divide also that's coming between like Tula just wants to get everyone safe and just forget about this whole business and not go like poking holes where they shouldn't, you know, whereas Lila, Thorne, the mom, everyone I feel like really kind of does want to follow this up. I feel like Jason's kind of more just like wants to fight, so like just wants to go where the fight was, but I feel like could be persuaded to just go with Tula. So I think they'll stick together. I'm not worried about them breaking up or anything like that, but I'm just worried about like the conflicts it'll cause. We also have, because this wasn't stressful enough, Viola decided like now she's gonna have babies, so that's great because now I have to worry about that. And she had like this whole vision of like her kids playing again in like a concrete structure. So when we actually saw the concrete structure, I was like, so maybe that's like the new place they'll live in or something. Like maybe that'll be their new community. I originally was worried they were in a zoo. I'm not gonna lie. You're like, when they were like concrete walls, I'm like, they're in a zoo. This is not good. But now that we've seen that concrete thing, I think that probably they're gonna join up with them. Not saying that it'll be great. Like maybe it'll be one of those things where like you leave and then you come back afterwards after all the bad things have happened and like settle down there. But yeah, thanks a lot, Viola, for deciding that now I don't only have like the children and all of you to worry about, but now I have a pregnant Stoat to worry about and her babies. And yeah, I was like, no, I don't want this. No, I reject this. Like, it was just like the worst possible thing you could add into this situation. I'm like, oh my gosh. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see like them meeting the other Stoats as we saw in the preview for the next episode, see what these Stoats are like, because it seemed like the Stoats that we had met, aside from like the elders who had like been part of the group that like, you know, took the Red Warren, were kind of, I don't want to say complacent, but like it doesn't seem like they were like out there like fighting their fight every day, you know, like they weren't fighting bears like they have been. So it'll just be interesting to see if this is more of like a rebellion Stoat group, if that makes sense, or like what they've got going on, what they know about the blue, and also the Stoat language that has now been written down. So yeah, it'll just be really, really interesting. And I like this episode. It was calmer, like I said, and there were still stressful points, but overall, I wanted to gag way less. So that's always great. So yeah, if you have seen this episode, please feel free to leave your thoughts about it down below in the comments. Also, make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!